Hello, this is Mr. Chabry, and today we're going to answer the question, can we beat Pokemon Blue with Team Rocket's team? Let's find out.
Team Rocket, and we fight for what's wrong. For mayhem and madness and rare Pokemon.
First things first, we're going to name our player character R-Grunt, short for Rocket Grunt. We then name our rival Looker. We then use the Universal Randomizer to replace Bulbasaur with Coughing. That way, Looker will actually start out with Charmander. After naming the Coughing Tear Gas, our rival Looker decides he would like to battle. So for the first battle, it actually ends up being very easy. Unfortunately, we missed quite a few Smogs, but we actually do connect and actually poison the Charmander. So after that, it's a pretty easy battle. We just continuously click tackle this time. But yeah, eventually the Charmander goes down. And first battle actually went really easy. After we make it to Pewter City, I decide it is time to actually send Ekans into our game. Being that this is Pokemon Blue, Ekans is actually not in here, so I had to use a Nintendo 64 emulator to trade Ekans from a Pokemon Red ROM. It had a weird side effect of deleting the gas off of Tear Gas's name, so I have no idea why it did that, but I guess we'll do the rest of the game with Tear. After putting Ekans onto my team, I decided to go back and face Looker once again. Tear Gas starts off and pretty much poisons Pidgey. I go into Cobra here so that way our Ekans can get some experience, and let me tell you, Wrap is such a crazy move in Generation 1. It feels so good being the one putting Wrap onto the opponent instead of being the one, unfortunately, taking a Wrap. So now Looker goes into Charmander, and we just continue wrapping this thing up. We're going to go into Tear, because I want to get some experience on Tier 2, and Tear is actually a much better Pokemon than Ekans anyway, and we get a nice win right there. After defeating Looker, it's time to try our luck against Brock. So here you see Tear is level 12, the same level as the Geodude. I go for Smog, hoping for a poison, but it seems like Brock has so many full heals that trying to poison the opponent's not going to do anything. Here I go into Cobra, hoping that I could wrap this thing and, get lucky and take it out that way. Unfortunately, we don't quite take it out with our wrap, so we go back into Tear. And as you can see here, Tear has no way of handling this thing, so we lose our first attempt. After some training, we are back. We're ready to take on Brock. This time I go for Smog, and I'm wondering if Brock has a limited number of full heal. So I'm going to continue going for Smog, and even if Brock has a full heal, he's going to just be taking that much damage. Here I go into Cobra, go for a Poison Sting for a poison, and we continue wrapping. And it looks like Wrap on this Geodude is going to actually be enough to take it out eventually. So we're just going to keep doing that until the Geodude goes down, and you see there, Ekans goes to level 15. Now it's time for the Onix, and I'm actually pretty scared of this thing. This thing has a lot higher defense than Geodude. So we're going to go ahead and try to poison it. We're getting hit with Bides there, but really that's my best option because I need to poison this thing to even have a chance. So I decided to just go ahead and use Wrap on this thing to try to protect myself from a Bide. But I guess that's not how it works because Onix is still able to attack me. And unfortunately, Ekans being a traded Mon, that means that it's not going to actually listen to me. So now it's up to Tear Gas to finish this off. And we're going to continuously go for a Smog. We get some poison. Brock surprisingly still has full heals, so maybe he has an unlimited number. But we're able to take out Onix, and there's our first badge. We go into Mount Moon where we meet some other fellow Rocket Grunts. Unfortunately, these Rocket Grunts don't seem to be friendly towards me. I guess they don't like the new kid on the block. Once we get to Cerulean City, I want to try my luck against Misty. Of course, I don't think I'll be able to beat Misty because of her higher special Pokemon. So as you see here, Tear gets a poison, but it's not doing that much damage. And unfortunately, Ekans is not listening to us. That's kind of the downside of having to trade in Ekans. But we do get rid of Staryu. But now it's time for the Starmie. Starmie is very fast, It has pretty decent defense, and it's got really good special. We don't stand a chance. So now I decided to go north. That way we can face our rival, get some stuff done up there, and get some experience. He's going to lead off with Pidgeotto, and it actually gives me some trouble because it does quite a bit of damage, and I do get some sand attacks on me. Luckily, we can go into Ekans. Abra only knows teleports, so it's pretty much free experience here. Now I'm going to face the Rattata, and I'm pretty sure we can take the Rattata with Ekans, but the problem is our Ekans does not want to listen to us, and we barely actually take that thing out. Charmander is Looker's final Pokemon, and things are not looking good because Tyr is my best Pokemon, and now it's up to Ekans. Ekans, please, you've got to listen to me. If you mess up, we're going to lose this fight, and Looker actually defeats me. We re-challenge Looker, and this time we're going to do things a little bit different. Instead of trying to get Ekans in here, we're going to use Tear Gas as much as we can because Tear Gas is really our best Mon, and Ekans not listening is actually really bad. We're going to go into Ekans, of course, just for the Abra. That's pretty much free experience. We're going to try to get Ekans to face down this Rattata, but yeah, we actually do get that. Instead of going into Coughing here, I'm going to try to get as much damage on this Charmander as I can with Ekans. And here you can see Ekans goes down, but we've got more health on our Coughing, and we're able to win this time. While training, Ekans decides to evolve, and it is now going to be an Arbok. Arbok is actually a really good Pokemon. It isn't the best, but that increase in attack is going to help us out. We then break into Bill's house and steal the ticket to the SSN. Think of all the Pokemon on the SSN that we could steal for Giovanni, our boss. This is a good time to be a Team Rocket grunt. Now it's time to try our hand again at Misty. And here, Arbok actually disintegrates the Staryu pretty easily. Now it's time to face down the Starmie, and Bubble Beam does quite a bit, and it seems like obviously we're going to be having a hard time. I'm going to go for a Wrap on the turn that Misty goes for an X Defend. Unfortunately, Arbok does go down, but I do have Tear Gas here who can finish off the battle, and we get the second badge. On the way to Vermilion City, it's time to capture our last Pokemon that we can use in battle. That's going to be Meowth. Meowth is actually going to help us out quite a bit because it's a pretty fast Pokemon, and it eventually will get access to Slash, which will have an increased chance to crit. Unfortunately, we're not able to evolve it because, of course, the Meowth on Team Rocket never is evolved, but this Pokemon is going to actually help us out quite a bit, and I end up naming it Tigger. While looking for Pokemon to steal on the SSN, Looker finds us, and he's going to put a stop to our evil plan. We instantly destroy his Pidgeotto with Tigger, and I go into Tear Gas so that way we can have a better chance against the Raticate. I don't want Tigger to be annihilated so early on in this. I want Tigger to get some experience. So now Kadabra comes in, and I'm pretty sure we can one-shot with Tigger because it is a fast Pokemon. Kadabra has really low defense. And now Charmeleon comes in, and we instantly knock that out with a Dig. Lieutenant Surge time. He uses electric types, so we have a pretty easy knockout sweep here with Dig on Arbok. Arbok is actually doing very well, especially the levels where it actually listens to us. Of course, it's going to be more of a troublesome Pokemon as we go along, and it kind of exceeds the level cap of where a Pokemon will listen to us. But when it listens to us, it actually does very well. Grass-type Erica's turn. She uses Grass types. I've got Poison types, so I'm not too worried. Of course, the Victory Bell going for Wrap is going to be very annoying. I tried to go for a Glare, but we're going to just continuously be wrapped. Unfortunately, Arbok is not listening again. So yeah, it's going to do that. And we're going to go for a Dig. We're going to eventually go down if we don't switch out. We go into Tigger so we can get a quick knockout. Unfortunately, we take a lot of damage, so I'm going to have to get Tear Gas in here to do most of the heavy lifting here. We go for Sludge. Sludge is actually really good on Coughing. I was actually surprised because Poison type moves in Gen 1 are physical, and Coughing is more known for its special attack, but it actually does really well here. We're going to finish off Erica's team with Sludge. The last evolution for our team, our Coughing finally evolves into Weezing. This is going to help us out quite a bit, especially with Arbok sometimes not listening. I then get a report that the boss would like to see me, so I make my way back to the rocket hideout. And there, the boss actually challenges me to a battle. So I use Tigger's Bubble Beam to completely destroy his rock/ground types. Of course, Kangaskhan comes out now, and we're having a little bit more of a trouble with that. But Tear Gas comes out and finishes the battle. After that, we make our way to Lavender Town, where Looker is waiting for us. This time we have Thunderbolt on our Weezing, which actually completely destroys Pidgeotto. Sludge takes care of Execute. Of course, Gyarados is not living a Thunderbolt. Kadabra goes down pretty quickly too, and that leaves Charmeleon, who has no way of handling our Sludge. On my way to Fuchsia City, a guard tells me I can't go past because I need a bike. I am Team Rocket, I don't need a bike. After some convincing, the guard lets us go to Fuchsia City, where we face Koga, the Poison-type gym leader. Of course, we're going to use Dig on our Arbok, who does a lot of damage to all of Koga's Pokemon. Unfortunately, Muck's going to disable our Dig, so we're going to have to use Wrap to finish off Muck. But we do get our Dig back. We're going to Dig to finish off Coughing, and we're going to use Dig on Koga's Weezing as well. But he's going to go for a self-destruct, I guess realizing that he can't handle a Team Rocket grunt in the battle of poison types. I get a report that Looker is snooping around Silphco. Silphco is the company that Team Rocket's trying to take over. We can't let that happen. So I go to face down Looker once again. Tigger easily takes out Pidgeot, and now Execute comes out. We're going to go into our Weezing and just go for a Sludge. Instant knockout. Gyarados comes out. Gyarados is not taking a Thunderbolt, not in a million years. Alakazam comes out, and I decide to use Tigger once again to get some good experience. We do get a Paralysis. We take a Confusion, but we are able to take out the Alakazam. And that leaves the Charizard. We're going to go for a Sludge to get a little bit of damage, and then a Thunderbolt to finish it off. So then I make my way to Giovanni to give him the good news. I defeated Looker. He's not snooping around anymore. We don't have to worry about Looker interrupting our plans. But I guess Giovanni didn't want any of his grunts to interrupt his meeting with the president of Silphco. So he's going to take his anger out by battling me. I'm going to lead off with Tigger because I actually forgot what Pokemon he leads off with. But with Nidorino, I'm going to go into Arbok and go for Earthquake. Earthquake is such an amazing move. So we instantly knock that thing out. Kangaskhan comes out. We go into Weezing, and 2 Sludges will finish it off. Next up is Rhyhorn, and I've got Bubble Beam on Tigger, so we're going to go into that. 1 actually does not take it out. I was actually surprised by that, but we're going to knock it out with a Payday to get some extra cash. Nidoqueen comes out. Bubble Beam does nothing, so I'm going to go into Arbok and finish it off with an Earthquake. So now I'm going to face Sabrina, and I know, of course, Sabrina is going to be probably the toughest gym leader for us to face because of her psychic types, and 2 of our Pokemon are poison types. We actually do quite a bit of damage to the Kadabra. We're going to see Mr. Mime come in and do a lot of damage with the Confusion on us. Luckily, we're able to take it out. Venomoth comes out, and we go ahead and Sludge this thing, but a Psybeam will finish us off. Body Slam almost takes out Venomoth, and the second one will finish it off. Alakazam comes out, and this is actually the Pokemon I'm most afraid of. And it's going to take an Earthquake and finishes off with a Psywave. So it's safe to say we're not ready for Sabrina. So I'll make my way to Cinnabar Island so we can face Blaine. Blaine starts things off with his Growlithe. We're going to lead off with our Arbok with Earthquake. Growlithe does not take that at all. Neither does his Ponyta. It goes down instantly. Next up is Rapidash, and Earthquake will finish that off as well. Blaine's last Mon is actually an Arcanine, and if there's one Mon that could take it, it's going to be the Arcanine. I go for a Glare as he heals up, and just finish it off with another Earthquake. Rematch time with Sabrina, and this time we lead off with our Arbok, who can do a lot of damage. We have Acid. I might end up changing that, but for right now it seems to be doing some decent work. We take out Mr. Mime and the Kadabra. Venomoth comes out, and we go into Weezing, who can actually handle this thing better. We take a Psybeam, but Venomoth goes down. Last up is Alakazam, and I'm going to go into our Arbok. We don't actually take a hit from this thing at all, but I do have my Meowth, who I'm hoping can outspeed. We go for a Body Slam, and we actually take it out. We head back to Viridian City to take on the final gym leader, who actually turns out to be Giovanni, my boss. He leads off with a Rhyhorn, I lead off with Tigger. Bubble Beam instantly destroys the Rhyhorn. Next up is Dugtrio, and a Bubble Beam does the same thing. Nidoqueen's up. Nidoqueen's actually pretty bulky, and I'm pretty sure it could probably take a Bubble Beam, so I go into Arbok for a nice Earthquake. Now we have to face the Nidoking, and another Earthquake that will finish off Nidoking. Last up is his Rhydon. This is his ultimate Pokemon. The fact that he brought that out on a Grunt means he's kind of terrified of me, but Bubble Beam does the job. Now we face Looker again. He's going to lead off with Pidgeot. We lead off with Tigger. Body Slam does nothing, so I have to switch into Weezing. Thunderbolt from Weezing instantly KOs the Pidgeot. Next up is Rhyhorn, and we've got the Bubble Beam for that. Rhyhorn goes down. Next up is Execute. Of course, we're going to go into our Tear Gas Sludge. It actually survives, but it misses its move. So another Sludge will finish it off. Next up is Gyarados. And I said earlier, Gyarados would never live a Thunderbolt, not a million years, but I guess it does. And we are now facing Alakazam, one of the most frightening Pokemon I have to face on Looker's team. This thing is fast, it hits hard, and it's Psychic typing. I've got Poison types. Luckily, we do end up taking it out, leaving the Charizard as Looker's last Mon. I go into Arbok, hoping to get some experience on it. We get some Glare on this Charizard to slow it down, and a few bites, it is gone. Elite Four time. First up is Lorelei and her Ice types. I'm going to see how much Tigger can do on the Dugong. We get a Paralysis, which means we do slow it down. A Takedown will actually take down Dugong as well. So unfortunately, we don't get any experience from that. We go into Tear Gas for the Cloyster. Thunderbolt takes it down. Slowbro comes out, and a few Thunderbolts takes it down after quite a back and forth there. Next up is Jinx, and this thing is very scary. A Fire Blast will not take it out. Jinx actually has decent special, but a Sludge will finish it off. We go for Explosion to see if we can take out the Lapras. Unfortunately, we don't quite take it out, and we lose to the Lapras. Rematch with Lorelei. She leads off with Dugong. Instead of leading off with our Tigger, I'm going to lead off with Tear Gas because it can hit harder, and we quite easily take Dugong down without taking any damage. Cloyster up next. Thunderbolt takes it down after 2 hits. Next up is Slowbro, and as we saw earlier, this thing can take quite a few hits with that Amnesia. Luckily, we're able to take it out with some Thunderbolts. Now it's time for Jinx, and I'm going to go for a Body Slam to see if we can take it out. Body Slam does not quite take it out, but the second slash will. Now it's time for Lapras. I go for Body Slams, trying to get a Paralysis on this thing. And we don't quite get that, but a Thunderbolt from Weezing finishes the job. Bruno time. He leads off with Onix. I made the mistake of leading off with Weezing here. Weezing cannot do anything to this guy. So I go into Tigger here, who goes for a Bubble Beam. Unfortunately, we miss, but Bruno wastes a turn of going for an X Defend, so we finish it off there. Hitmonchan is out, and Arbok comes out here, and unfortunately gets hit with a counter. The Hitmonchan actually misses the second counter, which is interesting. We're going to Glare the Hitmonlee to slow it down because it's actually quite a fast Pokemon compared to other Gen 1 Mons. We go into Weezing to finish it off. Tigger comes out to finish off the Onix with 1 Bubble Beam. Last up is Machamp. This thing's quite scary. I'm going to Body Slam to try to get as much damage as I can. It's going to get paralyzed and waste some time going for a Focus Energy. And Weezing's able to finish it off. Now it's time to face Agatha. She uses Ghost types, and I'm kind of nervous about these Pokemon, but luckily for us, Arbok's able to finish off the Gengar with an Earthquake. Golbat comes out. We cannot touch this thing with Earthquake. We go into Weezing for Thunderbolt, and that will do the job. Next up is Haunter. If Earthquake from Arbok takes out Gengar, Haunter stands no chance. Now she goes into her own Arbok, It is 7 levels higher than us, but with a Glare and an Earthquake, we easily take that thing out without taking any damage. And the level 60 Gengar wastes a turn for Toxic. Now we face the Dragon Master, Lance. He leads off with Gyarados, and we take a pretty nasty Hyper Beam, but the good thing is, Gyarados is going to have to waste some turns recharging, and he actually uses a potion too, which is interesting. Next up is Dragonair, and the surprising thing is, in Gen 1, there's an AI quirk where Lance will always use the super effective move, even if it doesn't do any damage. So he's using psychic moves like Agility here on my poison types. And yeah, Dragonair is not going to even put up a fight. Next up is Aerodactyl, and I'm going to go into Tigger to see if a Bubble Beam will even do enough damage to do anything. It doesn't, and we go down with 1 bite, unfortunately. Thunderbolt almost takes it out, but we use our last Thunderbolt there, so now we're going to keep going for Sludge here to try to get some damage on this thing. We get a Poison, which is nice. The Dragonite's going to waste its time going for Barrier. We go into Arbok here, who can easily take this thing out eventually, as Lance just wastes all this time going for Barrier and Agility. He uses a Hyper Potion, but the worst that's going to do for us is use up some of our power points. So, of course, in between battles, we're going to have to use an Ether, especially on the Thunderbolt for Weezing. But other than that, we are ready to face on the final battle. Here it is. It is time for us to face on the champion, who actually ends up being Looker. He's been waiting for us, ready to take us in for all of the defeats he had suffered at the hands of Team Rocket. We're not going to let that happen. Thunderbolt instantly takes down Pidgeot after a few of them. Next up is Alakazam, and I gotta say, this is the Pokemon I'm most afraid of on his team. It one-shots Meowth. 2 shots are Arbok, and now Weezing comes out to face it down. And he goes for Barrier, which is the only reason we were able to take down Alakazam. But now his Rhydon comes out, and obviously I don't really have a good way of taking this thing out with Weezing. The best mon I've got for this thing is Meowth. And he even goes for a full Restore, which heals it back up. The most I can do is poison it and go for Fire Blast, because it's got lower special than it does defense. But now I'm completely out of Fire Blast, so I'm going to have to use Sludge as the only move that can do damage. And I'm trying to save my Sludge, because I know I'm going to need it later on anyway, so that's why I used a few Thunderbolts there. Next up is Executor. And I don't take it out with 1 hit, and unfortunately I get put to sleep. We do take it down with poison damage though, but a Dragon Rage from Gyarados will finish us off. After gaining a few levels, it's time for attempt number 2. We lead off with Weezing, Thunderbolt the Pidgeot to take it out. Next up is the fearful Alakazam. This time, instead of going into Meowth, who gets 1 shot, I go into Arbok. Arbok gets 1 shot by Psychic. So this is a move that he actually didn't use last time, surprisingly. But this thing is so powerful, it one-shots everything except Weezing, and Weezing only lives with a sliver of health. Now it's Tigger versus the Rhydon, who Tigger actually can take on Rhydon pretty easily, but that's basically it. Tigger can't do much to Executor, but hit it with a Toxic. But other than that, I can't do anything. Attempt number 3. This time I lead off with Weezing, Thunderbolt. Don't quite take out Pidgeot, but we take an unfortunate Sky Attack, which puts me in range of Psychic from Alakazam. So after that, I go down. I gotta go into Arbok here, and I try to go for a Double Edge, which doesn't do much now that the Alakazam has a Reflect. Psybeam with a crit is still 1 shot on Arbok, and Tigger does not stand a chance. We do get a nice Paralysis and a Slash knockout, but other than that, we've already seen that Tigger does nothing to Executor. So now we are basically at a standstill once again. Attempt number 4. This time we lead off with Arbok, get a Glare off on the Pidgeot. The main reason why I lead off with Arbok here is because I see that we need full health on Weezing to even take a Psychic move. And doing this lets us get Weezing in here with no damage. But now it's time for the Alakazam, who goes for Reflect first off. We get a Poison, which is nice. Psybeam does about 2-hit KO damage. But unfortunately we get confused. I go into Tigger here, hoping that we can do some more chip damage. But this thing still is faster than Tigger, so we're going to have to let Weezing take it out. Weezing does take it out because it goes for a Reflect instead of taking us out there with the Psychic move. So we're going to continuously go for Fire Blast, which will take it out. Fire Blast does quite a bit of damage to Executor. Unfortunately, we get put to sleep again. We just have to continuously keep attacking this thing, and unfortunately, we're going to just stay asleep, which is really annoying. Attempt number 5. Here we go. We lead off with Weezing and go for Sludge to see if that gives us a one-shot. It does not, but Thunderbolt still doesn't give us a one-shot. We get hit with a Thunderbolt from the Pidgeot, which is actually an odd thing to do there, Looker. Alakazam comes out and goes for Psybeam instead of Psychic, which actually gives us the shot of hitting it with the Sludge and taking it out. Tigger comes out and Bubble Beams the Rhydon, who tries to go for a Horn Drill. Luckily, the Rhydon misses, and we can go back into Weezing, go for a Sludge, and luckily we don't get hit with Hypnosis. Gyarados is out, and a Thunderbolt will one-shot the Gyarados. That just leaves the Charizard. And here it is, our starter is facing down once again. Fire Spin misses, Slash hits and crits, but Tear Gas is able to give us the victory. And here we are, the first members of Team Rocket to become champions. And here we get to see our Pokemon, the ones that took us there. Tear Gas, the Weezing, our Arbok named Cobra, and our Tigger, who was a Meowth. So yeah, this was a pretty fun challenge here. I've been wanting to do some more of these Pokemon challenges, and I thought this one would be funner than, you know, just picking one Pokemon and using throughout the duration. So yeah, this gave us an interesting little challenge here. If you like this, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and I will see you in the next Pokemon video.